This killer move by India has made Trump furious, and the whole world is talking about it. What was supposed to be just another global summit turned into a nightmare for Washington. Because what just happened at the SCO summit wasn't just diplomacy, it was a message. In one weekend, India did three things that shocked the world. China, its old rival, started openly praising India. Russia's Vladimir Putin called Modi a dear friend and hosted him in his state car during a limousine ride in Tianjin, China. A moment that quickly went viral worldwide. And the West, it panicked because this wasn't supposed to happen. For years, Washington believed India would stay predictable, that it would keep fighting China, keep leaning on the US, and keep playing by their plan. But in 2025, India flipped the script. This wasn't just a summit. This was India's deadly strategy, a masterstroke that rattled Pakistan, shook the West, and might change Asia forever. Nobody saw this coming. For years, the West thought they had India figured out. They believed India would stay stuck fighting China. They believed India would always choose America's side and play by their plan. But in 2025, India flipped the script. What was supposed to be just another summit turned into a global surprise. China, India's old rival, suddenly started praising India. Yes, praising. Chinese social media lit up with posts admiring India, sharing clips of Indian PM, even celebrating Indian food and culture. At the very same moment, Russia went all in on its friendship with India, taking Modi for a ride that made headlines everywhere. This wasn't a coincidence. This was India's strategy, and it worked. In one move, India showed the world it doesn't take orders from anyone. India just reminded the world that it plays by its own rules. This year in Beijing, 80 Chinese artists performed the Indian epic Ramayana, and the show sold out. On social media, clips of Chinese girls dancing to Indian classical music are going viral, even shared by Chinese diplomats themselves. It's like a quiet bridge is being rebuilt between two old civilizations. Even Chinese media personalities are talking about it. Hu Xijin, the former editor of the Global Times, posted about how Donald Trump looked frustrated watching India grow closer to Russia. And what sparked it all? That one unforgettable moment. Prime Minister Modi and President Putin walking hand in hand, smiling for the cameras. It wasn't just a friendly gesture, it was a message. And that message sent shockwaves. On Bilibili, China's popular social media platform, videos with titles like Modi overshadowed Putin at the SCO summit are racking up thousands of views. Chinese creators have turned global diplomacy into engagement, with illustrations of Modi, Putin, and Trump playing out geopolitical dramas for millions to watch. What used to be a cold, tense rivalry is suddenly starting to look like admiration. China's embassy spokesperson in New Delhi didn't just stop at sharing dance clips. She posted about India's dietary traditions, calling them a model of food wisdom. He celebrated India's approach to health and balance, implying that China could learn something from the Indian way of life. For centuries, India's soft power has worked silently, influencing Asia through philosophy, science, and spirituality. Today, that power is re-emerging, not with armies or weapons, but with ideas, culture, and diplomacy. And the Chinese, with all their pragmatism, seem to understand this. But make no mistake, this is not about sentiment alone. Behind the smiles and the cultural performances lies a sharp geopolitical calculation. India knows it must walk a razor-thin line. It strengthens its ties with the United States, maintains a time-tested friendship with Russia, and manages, carefully, its complex relationship with China. Even Xi Jinping himself said it clearly, that friendship between India and China is the right choice, that India and China are partners in development, not rivals. Imagine the unease in Pakistan. For years, it had counted on Beijing's unconditional support to balance India. But here was China, extending an olive branch to New Delhi, praising Modi and calling India a friend. The Pakistani prime minister, who had flown in hoping to steal the spotlight at the SCO summit, found himself sidelined. Images of him looking awkward were widely circulated. While India spoke as a confident global player, Pakistan appeared like a guest at the wrong party. But this story is bigger than just India and China, Because while Beijing may be just softening, Moscow is embracing New Delhi more warmly than ever. Russian President Vladimir Putin called Modi his dear friend, took him for a ride in his official state car, and made sure Russian media celebrated every moment of the visit. Images of Modi, Putin, and Xi Jinping in a single frame have been called the nightmare scenario for Washington. Three major powers, each with their own differences, but momentarily aligned enough to push back against Western dominance. This is what many experts are now calling the rise of multipolarity, a world where no single country, not even the United States, can dictate the rules of the game. Western media, of course, is watching closely. The New York Times published pieces noting that countries like India and Brazil are increasingly unwilling to simply follow Washington's lead. Experts have gone as far as saying America's policies are speeding up its own decline, but India is not acting out of vengeance or rebellion. It is acting out of dharma, the duty to protect its sovereignty, its interests, and its people. And here is where the story becomes almost poetic. Some analysts have tried to explain global geopolitics through the lens of the Ramayana. India becomes Lord Ram, steady, righteous, and patient. Russia plays Vibhishan, the unlikely but loyal ally. The United States, with its history of interventions, becomes Ravan, powerful but increasingly arrogant and vulnerable. And China? Well, China must choose. Will it be Bali, the mighty warrior brought down by destiny, or Sugriv, the brother who ultimately chooses alliance over rivalry? The choice, it seems, lies with Beijing. India is making it clear. Friendship is possible, but manipulation is not. If China can charm Pakistan, India can charm Japan. If Beijing courts Bangladesh, New Delhi can deepen its bond with the Philippines. If China leans on Nepal or Myanmar, India can partner with Vietnam, Taiwan, and Australia. India has options. And more importantly, India has time, because it is playing the long game. This is why the world is watching so closely, because this is no longer just about territory or trade. This is about the soul of Asia, about whether two of the world's oldest civilizations can rise together, or whether they will remain trapped in suspicion and conflict while others exploit the divide. India's strategy is not to dominate, but to balance, not to destroy, but to lead, not to isolate, but to inspire. And as the global order shifts, as the BRICS bloc expands and the global south finds its voice, the Indian elephant is no longer just walking, it is marching. This moment in history did not happen by chance. It is the culmination of decades of patient, deliberate diplomacy, of tireless efforts to balance power while maintaining India's dignity, and of civilizational resilience that stretches back thousands of years. It is a reflection of an unshakable belief that India's rise is inevitable, not as a conqueror or a rival, but as a guiding force for the world. For centuries, the West sought to divide, lecture, and manipulate, hoping to exploit every rift and weakness. But the era of the colonial experiment is over. The world is now witnessing the return of a civilization whose wisdom and strength predate every modern empire, a power that does not need to assert itself through force, but through ideas, influence, and moral authority. And yet a question hangs in the balance. As the Indian elephant and the Chinese dragon come face to face on the global stage, the choices made in the corridors of diplomacy will shape not only the subcontinent, but the entire trajectory of the 21st century. Will the dragon remain a rival, locked in old patterns of suspicion and competition? Or will it recognize a new path and become a friend, an ally in building a multipolar, balanced Asia? Because make no mistake, the answer to this question will determine the fate of the Asian century, the direction of global stability, and the legacy India leaves for generations to come.